37% of reason for divorce is finances. Right now, 50-50 is all the rage on the internets. If a man wants you to go 50-50, then he's not really a man. But we all do know teamwork is the best way for a family and a relationship to thrive.
Yeah, I think, especially in this, generation and this world that we're in the financial state that we're in, it's almost impossible to expect one person to carry the whole load or carry that cross because it's a lot.
It is.
It can be challenging, but 50-50, I think realistically looks different in every household, depending on what all you have going on. And I'll say for us, I think one of the things that I struggled with, and we're using 50-50 because that's the common terminology, right? But for me, 50-50 looked differently for me in my previous space than now. So it was challenging as we talked about it, and I laugh about like our pie chart and the different things that we're allocating funds for. It's a tricky, uncomfortable conversation.
Anxious, nothing. A little bit anxious, nothing.
Woo, look at you.
Look at me.
Look at you.
I'm looking.
Oh, man. Well, the thing is, you can't see you, but I do. Welcome to Take Two with Mylan and Kate. So listen, tonight's episode.
Well, hold on. When you pay a healthy amount of bride price and no discount, this is what you get.
This is what you get. Yeah, let me tell you. Speaking of bride price, speaking of price, speaking of everything.
Oh, that leads into it.
This leads into it, right? Listen, episode 3, finances. Who pays for what? Is it fair? And what does 50-50 look like in a newly established relationship? Or is there a 50-50? I mean, Kate, is there a 50? No, okay, we'll talk about it later.
Right.
So, babe, when we were looking up topics about marriages, and this is something that first-time married people and second-time married people can relate to, it's finances. We saw, depending on the list that you looked at, it was either the 3rd or 5th reason for divorce. And I'm going to stress this again, for either first-time or second-time married people. 37% of reason for divorce is finances. Right now, 50-50 is all the rage on the internets. If a man wants you to go 50-50, then he's not really a man. But we all do know teamwork is the best way for a family and a relationship to thrive.
Yeah, I think, especially in this, generation and this world that we're in the financial state that we're in, it's almost impossible to expect one person to carry the whole load or carry that cross because it's a lot.
It is.
It can be challenging, but 50-50, I think realistically looks different in every household, depending on what all you have going on. And I'll say for us, I think one of the things that I struggled with, and we're using 50-50 because that's the common terminology, right? But for me, 50-50 looked differently for me in my previous space than now. So it was challenging as we talked about it, and I laugh about like our pie chart and the different things that we're allocating funds for. It's a tricky, uncomfortable conversation because my 50-50 that I'm used to is, well, you take care of this or these things and I take care of these things. You know, my paycheck comes to me and these are the things that I know I'm responsible for. Your paycheck goes to you and these are the things that you're responsible for. And that's
and now my paycheck goes to you too.
Well, ladies, I've always believed, even though you're supporting, his money is your money and your money is your money. Okay, so his money is for the house and your money is your money. Always. But it was a little bit challenging because we're doing it a little bit differently, right? Because that worked in that previous space. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work in this space, especially with it being a different dynamic. Because our money is stretched, 4 ways now?
Yeah,
in that one household.
And that was something when we got into like living together full time versus from the dating. How did we connect to say, yo, when do we focus on we? When do we focus on us? Because, admittedly, when we were dating, the accessibility for shorter trips in and out was easy. But now living together where our money is in different households, right? Because you still take care of your kids outside of your main house. How do you not let that impact what you're trying to establish with your new spouse? I think for me, who, I'm in front of most of what we do here. I'm very specific with Kate. Hey, babe, listen, I just need you to focus on these. Let me focus on those. And that's what's been successful for us so far.
Yeah, I mean, having that joint account is great, but I think it's just like even with the job, because marriage is work.
100%.
So you have to have the different roles and responsibilities because then there's no confusion, right? And so, okay, I know that I have to take care of X, Y, and Z, and then making sure that X amount of money goes into the joint account. You have to make sure that X amount of money goes into the joint account. I know exactly what's going out, for the kids' tuition, for cheer, for different activities that are happening. And that's the reality. As the kids get older, they get into different things. As we talk about money being pulled in different directions. So
like a dinner.
Right. Well, like dinner, but the kids are the most expensive costs.
Yeah, they're the most expensive.
And as they get older, it continues to be expensive if you want the best for them sometimes. When we talked about this, if you haven't watched our previous episodes, we talked about the guilt that you may have because you know that your marriage didn't work. And so you're trying to really overcompensate. The kids want to do so many different things, different activities, different wants, and that costs. And so you have to be mindful and not think that, the man has to carry everything. You don't mind if I said right now that, okay, I didn't want to work anymore. Like, I'm tired of corporate. I'm tired. I'm grateful and thankful that I have a job, but it's a lot. It really is a lot. And so, especially coupled with like content creation and all of the different things. But I have to be realistic too, knowing that, even though you can handle it, it's a lot for one person. And it can cause stress, resentment, anger, certain arguments that aren't necessary. And so I think 50-50 is the term, but whatever 50-50 looks like in your household, as the woman, you have to also be willing to support in whichever way that you can, physically and fiscally, so that, the house can run. And even if it's just you doing groceries in the month, that's your task. That eliminates.
That definitely helps. It helps. And I think for the guys, right, I'm always going to talk to us, right? It's important that we realize our pride cannot be our principle, because our pride will not let us speak to our spouse when the money might dip. If you're like me, I'm 100% entrepreneurial. Like, for the last 12 years, I have not been in the corporate setting. I do not have a technical boss. So this is a very rocky road and a rocky space. In 2024 specifically, man, I had some months that I was looking at my bank account and I was like, damn, this girl gonna leave me. But the thing is, we had the tough conversation about what was happening financially.
And it's good to apply that pressure on that man so he can work and make more
my
money.
Goodness, working to the bone. But no, fellas, do not let your pride be your principle, because you failing in silence, it will ultimately spill into the relationship, because all of a sudden she might ask you for something simple like, oh, listen, I'm going to the grocery store. Do you need to spend money on butter? You don't want to be that guy. So, hey, listen, in 24, there was some tough months. Like I said, so we had a lot of fluctuation, transition into getting in the house. It was like loss of contracts. There was so many things going on. And at a point, I felt like I was coming to her with bad news, and I'm like, damn, is this gonna work? So, fellas, then I'm done, and babe, take over. It's do not let your pride be your principle, because if you want this relationship to work, it has to be the work. So the pro conversations and the con conversations need to be had.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, really not suffering in silence, because this is not your first time. And even if it's your first time, having that initial conversation up front, I think this is something that I didn't do. And a lot of people don't do this before they jump into marriage, whether it's your first, second, or third. Sometimes you let the love and the infatuation and the looks get in the way of really touching on some of these sticky things. And then when you get to it, now it becomes more of an argument and toxic, rather than being able to navigate. And we're able to navigate because of past experiences, and also we're a lot more matured in this space.
There goes a plus of a divorce.
I can never land.
Baby, let me tell you, you land. I'm the co-pilot. So there's, so you gotta let the pilot relax. But what I was saying is, where we were seasoned, we were able to discuss finances sooner than later because of our previous experiences. So while the infatuation and the love was there, the finances were a real discussion sooner than later. Understanding what she did professionally, because it's one thing to know that she works. Well, what's the magnitude of working? It's one thing to know that you're an entrepreneur and you manage X amount of contracts. Well, what do those contracts look like? So these are discussions we were able to have, because you were right, babe. The trips, the excitement, the initial infatuation, because and you see how she looks. So sometimes I might forget the priorities, because
but and then when you're dating, I mean, what would be the word? What are you? There's no real responsibilities, consequences. You're just essentially having fun. Facts. And again, if you watch the previous episode, come live versus coming to visit are completely two different
I don't
things.
want to have to pay my aunt for that. So
I'm just saying, you have to, as you go further and further along, if you're not one of these girlies who just want to have fun and get, flowed out?
Flowed out.
Is it flowed out? It was flowed out. So you get flowed out and have fun. And you know what I mean by fun, and get your
they actually don't know what you mean. That's
cool. But if you're looking for a real relationship, you're looking for long term, and you're looking for something that is realistic and sustainable, you really have to come down from that horse and really come to earth and understand that some of that stuff that you might be seeing online or watching on TV is just not a reality. It might be for maybe 1% or 1 to 2%, but it's not every day that you have wealthy men running around just splurging on the average girl. And most of them are married. So, again, that relationship isn't really anything. So you have to be realistic. My thing is never be with a lazy man. Speaking for the women, and you can talk for the men.
Facts.
Just don't be with the lazy man. A man who is willing to get up and go to work. And when I say this, you laugh. Even if it's McDonald's, Burger King, not to say those are bad jobs, but they're willing to put their pride aside and say, I want to get a job, because I can go from, washing the dishes there to now being, behind the counter as a cashier, and then going to management and moving up and owning ultimately,
maybe their own franchise.
Exactly.
Like
so just don't marry a lazy person, but you have to be willing to work with them to grow.
That was key.
And that is just the bottom line. So for me, the money needs to really go into spaces that you think, as the house, when you do the evaluation, where things are needed,
where the
most.
things are needed
and
the most.
You do the percentage. Okay, 20% goes here, 30% goes there.
And you'll be better off having those conversations sooner than later. And you have to, folks.
And I mean, the second time around is even tougher, because, for instance, we have quarterly, we have to go to California, where it's almost like $10,000 when it's all the four of us, right? Because we go, then we got to pick up the kids or drop them off. Then we got to come back. Then we got to do, hotel.
I got
then we have
statements,
to do,
10 grand.
But
I mean, it's
flights
up there.
are
It's
expensive,
costly. Yeah,
especially
it
if
is
it's a
costly.
holiday, like the holiday season.
The holiday ones are tough. They be tapping me out. I'm like, oh,
So imagine if you're going to be working harder if it's your second time around, because the expenses are much more. And this is why people stay married. That's a discussion for another time. Because they don't want to deal with all of these things.
Yes.
And so you have to be realistic and say, hey, as we continue in this journey, you have money that goes here. I have money that go there. Then we have our own expenses.
Yes.
I mean, you know, we look okay. We look decent. So it takes a lot.
Well, you look a lot better. So we know where a good percentage of my money goes. Right? You guys see the video.
Great investment, right? So
I'm looking for the ROI.
Well, listen, it's right here.
Yes. And I think you brought up a really good point. That these conversations about money, they are sensitive. They are difficult. Make no mistake, they are difficult. And I'll say for us, going through it before we were able, it was tough. It was still tough. And I think it's still tough in some instances now, because we want to look at what are some of the things we want to do that's splurging for us versus knowing we've got other things coming up that maybe my kids are involved, your kids are involved, and how to make it make sense and merge. Like, okay, we're going to do this as a couple, and this is what we're going to do for the children. Folks, if you are getting remarried, do understand what happens in your ex's house. To an extent, you are still a level of responsible, and it's kind of unwritten rules, and it's unfortunate. Myself, I mean, we've had some back and forths where maybe you would say that I've overstepped like my involvement in some things. So that's all part of the learning dynamic of blending the families. So your finances may be 100% with us, but then, you know, there's that 1 month I can't do 100 with us because I might need to do 15 outside. And I might not say something about it.
That part. And I think communication is very important as you talk about the finances. Like people need to know exactly what's what. And things fluctuate, things change, especially if you're dealing with a very difficult, you know, divorce or ex and you're still navigating through that. A lot of your money is going outside. So in the beginning stages, you really want to have these discussions with that. Let's say that your partner doesn't have that. They're married, but their divorce was very smooth and don't have all of the additional baggage that you might be dealing with all of the additional attorney fees or court appearances and fees that you have to travel that you may have to do to either pick up or drop off your kids, maybe because you're bi-coastal. I don't know. But you want to be open and honest about these discussions, and so that they can make an honest, you know, decision, because it's not fair to them when they're so invested in you emotionally and physically and all that. This is when you're like, oh, but I didn't tell you this because I didn't want you to leave me. But this is how do you want them to handle that?
Yeah, and that was tough for us in the beginning, right? Because, you know, when you get involved with someone, understand a percentage of their history has to come with them, especially when children are involved, especially, you know, division of assets, divisions of business, all of these things are involved. So you can't shy away from that tough conversation. You cannot just look at the physical. You can just not look at the fun and just be like, oh, that's what I want, because all of that wears off. And when you clear your eyes, maybe you bit off more than you could chew. And back to a point you had brought about, you know, about just having fun and not being serious. When you are dating and going through that transition, do understand the fun only lasts so long. Do yourself a favor, fellas, is make sure you know where you are financially and can you afford that new space. That's something I had to fact check myself with. There's a difference of affording me, myself, and the things I'm able to do, but then there's a difference of stepping up front and being a provider and doing it for someone else, doing it with someone else. Because some months she may not be able to contribute. Can you cover that additional? And, you know, and in those months when you're going through it, do you have enough pride to just say, hey, babe, listen, I'm down this month. Can you step up and cover this? So do that self-assessment. Fellas, like I said, pride cannot be a principle because it will bite you in the ass sooner than later. And I'd rather you be in control of it instead of being embarrassed by it. Because you can't look at someone who decides if they want to leave because you sold them a lemon. The car looked nice, but when they got in, the transmission was shot.
And I mean, and this even starts with before you jump the broom.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes the man might take on the full responsibilities of the wedding. And men, sometimes they like to sell these things. Yes. Right? And so you went to Lake Como and you did this big wedding and you took charge 100%. You did it all. She's excited. She can't wait to live with you because my man, he gets it done. And then you move into, apartment, 24F. And, now
we've seen that,
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a luxury 24F. You know what I'm saying? Then you get there and you're like, babe, I'm thinking I want a house, I want...
And y'all 6 years away from a house.
Right. And he tells you, oh, well, we can't do that right now. It might be 6 years. Well, what is your job looking like? Now he's talking about your finances, your resources that he wasn't talking about before you jumped the broom, and now you're shocked. Yeah. You're confused because what do you mean? What is that? Right?
I think, ladies,
it's like you're about to pass out because you're like, girl, can you believe he's asking about and then your girl is probably like, what do you mean? Like, what? He can't?
But he paid for all of this.
Exactly. So be honest, be open, have the discussions and see how each person feels and really take it from there. And with all, like I said, you have to pray about it and let God lead you. So thank you all for joining. And if you guys are going through certain things like this, right? We would love to know, how are you navigating? How is your 50-50 looking like in your household? Let us know. And if we have insights, we'll share and we'll also learn from you guys. So thank you for joining.
Take two with Mylan and Kate. Discuss your finances.